What's up, my precious pack, and welcome back to VEGA Conflict. Okay, I completely missed yesterday because I was busy doing other things. So there was nothing that came out yesterday, and this video is running extremely late. Oh yeah, it's running 2 hours late. Well, better late than never. Okay, I'm gonna give my thoughts of the Redux event. And for once, I'm not going to badmouth it because it wasn't a bad event. I actually had a bit of fun in the event. Some, not a lot. So don't let that go to your head for anybody that listens from Kixeye. Second, I'm also dead tired right now, so if I stammer, stutter, blah 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 blah, that's exactly what happens. The prize list. It is extremely small in terms of new technology. However, that is a good thing and a bad thing. One thing I will bring up, the specials for this season have been extremely lacking to the point that certain guns are utterly useless. Now, I picked up all of the atomic drivers, and my first fitting is just going to be a test fitting with all atomic driver levels 1 for the Medusa, just because I want to see how it does and blah 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 blah. So I've hooked it up with a few of the older, well, the researchable projectile drivers because I don't have anything else to equip on that's going to boost its weapon speed or anything like that. So I'm kind of stuck with it for the time being. So, Kixeye, you should consider trying to release specials with the weapons or within a following event fairly quick-like. And in this video I'm going to talk about the Redux as well as the Smash and Grab and my first initial thoughts on having gotten the Behemoth and played with it a bit. The prize list. It is actually extremely healthy in terms of Altarian technology and older technology. And that is because they include the Liberator Destroyer, and something a few people from my clan were doing that were slightly lower than myself. They were able to farm up, and I do mean farm as in they were able to repeatedly hit for free repair time for each fight, or low enough repair time to wait 2-3 minutes for the entire fleet to repair, to pick up more than enough intel. The vast majority of them collected more than I did. I only picked up what I needed for resources to restore what I lost from building the dreadnought, the Medusa, and the weapons, and a few other things like that. But let's do a quick review of what players should get. Now, I did the prize review already, but let's do it from my perspective, from what I use constantly. And that's going to be the Wraith Cruiser, the Nova Cannon level 1, level 2, Ablative Tungsten level 1, level 2. You're going to actually put all level 1 on the ship to begin with, because at Mark 1 you've got effectively no weight for it, so you're going to have to do a light fitting anyways. But you're going to fully fit it with just about everything you can if you can actually start farming Blight. My mind is telling me to go to sleep, my body is telling me to deal with this video. No wait, that's backwards again. Well, what you'd do is you'd pick up the Blight cannons, you'd produce a few of them, you'd fit them to the ship as quickly as possible because you'd want all level 1, and then you'd want some type of beam weapon to make its overdrive more effective and shut down targets' weapons for a longer period of time. I'll show you that in a test fitting at some point later once I have it fully marked upgraded. Right now it's only Mark 4 and I'm still fitting it. But the rest of the tech is all optional because the primary thing that I use is the cruisers, because when it comes to hit and run, there isn't much that you can run away from in the game anymore, because Kixeye makes even their cruisers faster than our standard cruiser speed, so even with thrusters equipped, it's hard to outrun and outmaneuver, especially when they outrange you. So cruisers have become my go-to ship in terms of firepower. Secondarily, battleships. I do have my Ogre and I have used it a bit. I was hoping the projectile weapon this season would be better than it is, but as it stands right now, it's a piece of garbage. It weighs too much, its weapon speed is far too slow, and if anyone says its AoE is good, it is good. It is good. I won't lie, but it's not good enough. The Ogre battleship is the secondary item on the list. Now, you will want to pick up Nova Missile 1, Nova Missile 2, Nova Missile 3 if you do that, and if you went with the Wraith already and you already have all of the armors. You do, however, need to make sure you have the Eclipse driver, because that'll be the next weapon you need, and I don't actually see it in the list. So you're going to need to have that from any other event that it's from, because that will be the secondary set of weapons on the ship. You want a bit of missiles, but a lot of projectile weapons. The missiles are just a little bit to spread AoE damage, so when you're farming against AI targets, because they're known to cluster up, you'll be splitting the damage between as many of them as possible, while also destroying whatever the primary target is. On to the Altarian technology. The Inquisitor Destroyer, I can say that it will be better, for right now, against, in terms of which is better, the Inquisitor or the Medusa. The Inquisitor, hands down, because of its overdrive. Its overdrive just makes it so much better in every possible aspect. The Ballista Overdrive, it gives it increased maximum range for the projectile. It can't increase its firing range, so it can't acquire a target sooner. It gains wall pierce and piercing period, so it just goes and goes and goes and goes. And the ship has naturally built-in increased range as well, so it just gets better and better. Now that's where the good things end for that. Its weight, they're close enough that it's not going to make much of a difference. Health, not going to make a difference. The only difference is that one can equip ablative armor and only 10% of damage will bleed through, but the vast majority of damage that bleeds through is going to stick with it anyway, so it's not going to really matter. However, it will be good in certain scenarios to have the Medusa, whereas opposite scenarios will be the Inquisitor. Inquisitor will be the general purpose hull in my eyes that will be able to fight everything, from bases to just about any target, especially if targets line up in a row, such as in, give me a second, the Demon Core Raiders 60s and 65s. On top of that, the blueprint pieces and everything in here were all decently priced. They're not as cheap as they should have been because it's old technology, it's already been outclassed, but I have to have hands-on for the Medusa to be able to say whether it's going to be good or not, and that will be 3 days away. Okay, closing thoughts on the Redux event before I get into the Smash and Grab and then the Dreadnought. What could have been improved? What could have been worse? Well, the targets could have been more carefully balanced for their level, but they could have been worse at the same time. That's the double-sided blade. One side you're going to be using, the opposite side you can cut yourself with. They could have been more carefully balanced in terms of the distance that the targets had to cover, as well as the speed that the targets maneuvered. Frigates, naturally, they should be quick enough to catch up to just about all your ships, but the cruisers shouldn't. Cruisers should have cruiser speed that matches our speed, so we can destroy all the frigates in higher level targets so that they're not going to be a problem, so we're not worrying about them while we're dealing with cruisers. That's the good part of that. A few other aspects to improve. Try and look a little bit more closely into what the players want in events. But do not put the prizes they want in the monthly events. Put them in all the other events throughout the course of the month. Make it so that the monthly event is exactly what it should be. Top tier content and not lower tier content. Make it so it's all top tier current content, which is the faction that it represents, which would be Umbra. So you'd have everything else that doesn't involve Umbra removed, but put all this other stuff in other events. Make it so that those other events would be where you get all this stuff from. With the exception of the event prize boxes and a few of the time tokens. Because everyone will still be attacking targets regardless, so there should still be something there, but top tier prizes should be the current tier tech, even if they can't build it yet. I was the same way. I couldn't build the Axis and the Xeno division when I started collecting their stuff, but I still went up and collected all of their weapons, ships, and stuff like that. Second, I'm just going to quickly pick on the Phoenix frigate because I find the ship so laughable. I still have not found a use for it at all. And that's the end of that. Overall, out of a 5-point system, let's say 3 out of 5. The event was the 3 out of 5. Now on to the Smash and Grab, which I'll probably be sleeping through the initial beginning of it. Let's go ahead and let's take a look. Top tier Altarian tech, and right off the bat, do whatever you can to get the Sovereign Carrier. And they don't have cyclotron beams for it, so you can pick up the blueprint, but you can't get anything else. That sucks. Okay, so it'll be, for all of you who play this event, Sovereign Carrier, Bastion Cruiser, Paragon Battleship, Inquisitor Destroyer, in that order. And there was a few other things down further that I actually would recommend, because they're in here. Xeno Munitions, 2 and 1. Xeno Armor Holds, 2, 3, 1. And these are just to have a cargo fleet. And this is where the Pegasus comes in. Pegasus right here. Pick up each and every blueprint you can. So pick up the Pegasus blueprint and the Pegasus free ship, just because it's going to be useful. Pick up the Xeno Redeemer Missile Blueprint, the Seeker Missile Blueprint, the Xeno Seeker Missile Blueprint 2, the Xeno Munitions, and the Xeno Munitions 2. Well, actually, I already covered them, so I don't have to do that again. Pick up the Harmonic Agility Reactor, Harmonic Warfare Reactor, and Siege is up to you if you fight bases, but the main two is going to be the Agility Reactor and the Warfare Reactor. Siege Casing doesn't really have any use in the current tier because it doesn't support Umbra, which is a bit of a slap to the face. Because that weapon speed, as well as the improved health, the resistance, and everything like that, as well as the increased module damage, would just be so much better. But sadly, it doesn't, and you have to drop down to the weapons, and again, the Umbra ships. The atomic driver sucks. That's what I'm going to say for now until I actually test it, and I see it in combat. Speaking of which, towards the end of the video, you'll get to see it in combat attacking my base via the AI fleet and blah 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 blah. Next few things, if you need time tokens, depending on which one you're picking up. If you pick up the Axis blueprints, most definitely go after their 1, 4, 8, and 12 hour time tokens. They will be invaluable for helping kick off your advancement into the Xeno Division. No, I had it right the first time, the Axis. If you're just barely getting into them. If not, don't worry about them and just focus on the higher tier content. And since there's no Altarian technology other than the ships available, there isn't much else to recommend from the list. Well, Redeemer Missile 2s in some cases, but not all cases. The vast majority of everything should be used to pick up the Seeker missiles. And they only have the Xeno version here, which is kind of weird because I don't see the other version at all. I don't see the standard version. Eclipse Driver. This is where you can pick up the Eclipse Driver. So make sure you pick level 1 and level 2 up, and I believe I saw level... I thought I saw the reusable... Yeah, right here. Make sure you pick up a few reusable ones as well, because they'll be a little bit more useful in your battleships. Okay, that about covers it for that. I'll talk about it more when it actually starts and when I'm actually more awake. But on to the Dreadnought and my initial thoughts of it. So far, it's been exactly how I expected it to be, a piece of utter garbage because it doesn't have any markup grades. If you try and fight anything around its level, it's going to lose quite horribly. And that's due to a combination of things. One, it has the battleship style firing arc, but it's to match a cruiser, so the overlap in the front is just so it can activate its overdrive. However, its overdrive doesn't have to be activated just by a target sitting in the front in that single arc. If you have two targets, one on each side, something that I've noticed is it does activate the overdrive, because the target is technically in both firing arcs. So it activates it right then and there. However, its overdrive is questionable as to whether it would be useful or not. Let me just point this out. By default, it comes with ablative. However, take a look at its ablative threshold. It takes 5,000 damage to get 1,000 back. If you're using blight weapons, you'll get 200 back. But that's only if you meet 5,000 blight damage, you'll get that 200. So it's questionable as to why it has such a high blight level, because the ship is extremely weak. Defense of 90%, as all ablative does. Now let's take a look at the blood scent. When an enemy ship enters both firing arcs, the scent of the blood is caught and grants stasis to keep its prey in its sights. That's a complete and total lie. By default, that stasis isn't enough. If a target slips by the initial targeting reticle, or it gets by the initial firing arc and it gets into the secondary firing arc and it just keeps going and it's hugging the side of the ship, it can slip right on by it, right through its firing arc without dying if it's careful. If it's got enough armor, and if it's not being focused. And it can get right up behind it, and due to the poor rotation speed of the dreadnought, there's nothing it can do about it. And it's going to be fairly hard to have a decent fitting of this dreadnought, as well as a ship to help guard its backside. You may only get 1 or 2 ships in the fleet that are decently fitted with weapons, but they're going to have to forego armor if you do heavy weapons just to deal ships that slip by. However, the stasis does get better at each level. Ablation does get better as well, but by default, its ablative recovery just isn't enough. Each time I've used it thus far against any type of target from its own faction, from the Umbra, and the only one we can attack right now is the Overseer, which I know is overkill because they're all high mark level ships. I can take one of my wraiths before it dies, my elite mark wraith, and I can take out a good majority of the fleet before it loses. The dreadnought cannot do that, even though the dreadnought statistically has a better damage per second, but its overdrive is what lets it down, because the wraith has the better overdrive between the two. It has the better ablative recovery because it has a lower amount. It has a lower damage threshold to be able to get a better amount, and in turn, what I noticed was my wraith was capable of regenerating, keeping its ablative layer active the entire time, whereas the dreadnought struggled. The vast majority of the time, it did not have its ablative layer. It just couldn't regenerate the ablative layer at all. It lost it. It got possibly 1 or 2% back every now and then, but it wasn't enough to protect it. By default, the Mark I Wraith versus the Behemoth Unmark upgraded, well, it's no clear winner in terms of firepower, but in terms of survivability, the Wraith wins by several miles, because its ablative layer is constantly active so long as it's fighting. If you have any type of ablative armor and you mix with the blight weapons, it's going to be better and better. But that's about all to have to complain about the Dreadnought, because the only other good thing that I can state about it... Wait, have I stated anything good about it? I think I've only complained this entire time, and I'm going to continue complaining. It has to use the same weapons as the current ships. It doesn't have a dedicated weapon at this time. A dedicated weapon would make the ships so much better, as well as dedicated squadrons, and Kickside, this is a chance for you to make 2 separate items. Dedicated weapons for the Umbra Dreadnought, as well as dedicated squadrons for the Umbra Carrier and Dreadnought, provided you actually decide to make a carrier. If not, make some squadrons for just the Umbra Dreadnought. Make it so that the squadrons have some type of ablative armor, so you know they can protect themselves a little bit, so they have lower health than the drones, but have ablative regenerating armor. Just because Umbra. Other than that, I can't complain too much about the ship because, well, there's too much to complain about. Good thing, it's a cargo ship. Bad thing, it's a very slow cargo ship. In terms of combat, well, let's just go ahead and let's show you what it can do in a low-level in-planet fleet. I'll bring you all back in just a minute. Alright, here we are. VEGA 45 in-planet fleet for the strike. This is how easy it picks these apart. Now, if you were to attempt to attack something from its own tier, unless it's a low-level target, it's going to get mangled just because it can't regenerate its armor. I don't care what anyone else says. Having first-hand tested it, it just can't regenerate its armor, no matter how I see it. In its current state, without any devoted weapons at its current mark level, its armor will always be burned off. However, at Mark 6, thanks to the VEGA ship calc, which is the ship calculator, it can at least keep its armor up and recover it. Now, exactly how easily it recovers it, well, let's just do it this way. The fleet damage per second is 4,296. Now you have to double that because it has dual firing arcs like a battleship, so it's twice as much. That's the problem, because it's not going to hit every single shot it fires unless you're using beam weapons, and the only reliable beam weapons we have are twin fire beam for range, and the surge beam. And that's for reliable damage that's going to be guaranteed, but those are extremely close range. And as we know, the dreadnought, it can't move all that well. It takes up towards 27 seconds, 30 seconds just to accelerate to its maximum speed. By then, your enemy's already turned and they're running away, so you're not going to get a chance to close in if they're using a sovereign dreadnought or any other type. Carriers, they'll easily be able to take it out, even with standard drones, because what I've noticed is all you have to do is just have one ship sit on the edge of its range arc and make it waste all of its primary firing from the longest range weapons. And any type of squadron, even direct line of attack squadrons that fly directly at it, can sit on top of it. And because of where it fires from, instead of firing from towards the center of the ship or from different firing points on the ship that they could have, it fires from the beak of the ship. And the vast majority of drones sit right on the center of the ship, which constantly means that it's going to be losing health. And there's not much you can do about that, because again, it weighs too much to have much of an escort fleet unless you do all light-fitting ships. And even if I were to set up lightly fitted ships, they would have to be of the Axis tier to be able to have a fully fitted, light-fitting fleet with full weapons, full armor, full shielding. If I were to use the same top-tier ships, if I were to use Umbra ships or Altarian ships, if I were to use the Bastion or the Wraith, for example, to do light fittings of full armor, full weapons, full specials, and all the stuff to make them at least reliable for themselves to survive as well as fight, I'd only be able to get 2 or 3 of them in a fleet. And this is unmark upgraded. When you mark upgrade completely, you're only going to be able to fit 2 light fittings. And light fittings are truly light fittings because you have to strip a few things off them, so you're not going to be able to make full use of every single slot on them. And the dreadnought, as it stands right now, it needs help from a fleet, but you can't have much of a fleet to help it. So my initial impression is just like everybody else's. It sucks in its current state, and until we get the mark upgrades for it, it's going to continue to suck. And this is something that I find quite negative. Kixeye said that we would need the dreadnought to be able to earn the Mark II, or more easily earn the Mark II dreadnoughts. One of the representatives did, or it was in one of the posts, and it was for the mark upgrades and when they're going to be released. Well, in its current state, a Mark VI Wraith or a Mark I Wraith, either way, they're superior to the dreadnought just because of their overdrive. And equipping them with a beam weapon strips an enemy of their damage effectively. And it doesn't get any better for the dreadnought because as it stands right now, I don't see much going for it other than for the mark upgrades. After you get the mark upgrades, yeah, it'll be useful because when you calculate everything out, the highest I was able to get the damage is up towards 38,000 damage per second. That's against Altarian targets. Without the Altarian targets, it's around 33,000 damage per second, which means it'll be able to at least maintain its ablative armor a little bit more easily. But that's where it falls short at the low mark levels. But again, it's just like all ships in the game. Name a single ship that's good at Mark 1 other than the Wraith or any other cruiser. We have a few destroyers, some battleships that are good, but the Dreadnought class as of right now is falling short. That's it, everybody. That's all I wanted to say. If any of you have the Dreadnought, want to leave your thoughts on what you think of it thus far, feel free to, because I would like to hear from all of you. If you have any suggestions for anybody else for fittings that could help lower levels quickly catch up, feel free to leave them below in the comment section. If you liked the video because Tired Me is entertaining for some reason, feel free to leave a like. If you would like to see more videos, feel free to subscribe to the channel, browse the videos, find something you like, because again, there has been a variety of games on the channel, from strategy games to first-person shooters. Primarily Ark in that regard. But I'm gonna go ahead and let you all go. And everybody, be safe out in the void. Be careful with what you attack, because Kixeye is still Kixeye. Even if they say they want to change, it's been several years and I've been playing and I haven't seen enough change to believe anything they say. So take everything they say with a grain of salt. until it actually happens in game, and they don't immediately change it and say it was too easy. But have a good day, everybody. Be safe, and as always, I'll see you later.